I think we are live. Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and this is Movie Crap. How is it going tonight? I think we're starting a minute early. Can I hear myself? I think we are live. Okay. Hey, Austin. Oh, Paleo Steno is here. Twisted Razor, Cat Bot. Hold on, I'm sending out the tweet now. I'll get back to saying people. Austin, Ace the Windrider, Sunspot Mill, Javier Portello, Cornbread, who suggested something that's a segment tonight, Zane Powers, Purple Goop, Jordan Salafalo. Hello, and did we send out the tweet? Yes, we did. That is golden, and I'm going to... Oh, Dan L. Hey, Dan, how's it going? Anyway. Oh, Zane Powers, Purple Goop, did I say everyone? Austin. Is it Garbage Night? I don't... Oh, well, I need to review that at some point. Sleepy Time, 4Cat Productions. Hello, M Blood T. Saber Sparks. Well, if Saber Sparks is here, I'm going to do the fade, baby. Let's do this. Hey, who is that? Hey, Writ. W-R-I-T? Not sure how to say that. I'm sorry. I should. Look at that. Whoa, it's me. I know how to do things now. I think that worked, I hope. Anyway, yes, I got a haircut. Hello, Nathaniel Foga. I got a haircut. That is one of the many things. Theaters are over, but I cut my hair. And, oh, thank you, Jordan Salafalo. Bloxy Oxenwinkle. Hello, 10-ton chum. May not have happened, but the one about the sentient feminist sex doll that was attracted to a kid did... What the heck, Quibi? I have some interesting... Anyway, hello, Bloxy Oxenwinkle. Cheers to you for the first super chat of the night. Cheers to you. So, let me say this. Beautiful fade. Thank you, Catbot. I have a bunch... Basically, let me start this off by saying that I'm going to talk about HBO Max a lot tonight. That is obviously going to be the first story, but let's chill for a second before we talk about, how theaters are over and shit. First off, I got a haircut. That was cool. That was nice. Partly because it was my wife and I's 15-year anniversary since we started dating. Since 2005, which is crazy. We had a great night. We mainly just got really nice delivery and watch movies and stuff because you can't really go out. And my wife was like, you should get your haircut, which I should have done earlier. But we had a nice night. It was awesome. Hi, Jim. What are my knees? I don't understand that. Oh, I know it. Okay, I will get to that one. Don't worry, I'm bloody. But we had a great night. I got her flowers. We watched Hustlers, because that is still a great movie. Hustlers. Awesome. People have been sleeping on Hustlers, but it was my number 3 movie of last year, and it is great. We watched Hustlers and Go. That was a fun night. We had a great night. And it's nice to have been with someone so wonderful for 15 years. So, who's hanging out with her friends right now in the other room. Well, on Zoom. They're not here. You know how COVID works. Anyway, the other thing, what was it? Oh, Quibi. So, I don't know if I'll ever make a video about a segment about this, but I thought about it, but I have segments about the Scott Pilgrim verse animation tonight, as well as the Bugs Bunny holiday special, which name is in my script thing. Hello, Elwood DD. And I will talk about that then, and then HBO Max Picks. But when I did the Quibi thing, there was a movie that I did not, or a show I was going to talk about, but didn't, because I found out it was actually shot. So I'll just tell you this now, I guess. It is called The Now. It was going to be a Fairley Brothers show. They shot it, and Bill Murray was going to be a co-star, but was mainly going to star Dave Franco. And it actually was never released on Quibi. So it's actually, everybody's talking about this lost media Quibi thing, like shows that actually aired on Quibi. The Now is the only show I could find. And I found out when I was editing that this had happened. But the only show that was shot for Quibi and not actually released at all. Which is interesting. So maybe I'll make a thing about that at some point. But that's kind of... Everyone's talking about like all these shows that aired. I'm like, there's a show that didn't. That's Extra Lost. I will outloss media you on Quibi any day, son. Um, don't fuck with me about Lost Media on Quibi. We've been watching a lot of Christmas movies. We watched Christmas Chronicles 2, which is fine. It's a fun movie, I guess. I'm not a big Christmas Chronicle fan, but my daughter likes it. So we also watched Jingle Jangle. They're all like really long. I think I appreciate Christmas Chronicles more than Jingle Jangle because of Kurt Russell. I think that saves it for me. I'm trying to think anything else that happened. New computers going pretty good. The Quibi video. I did the thing with Paleo and Saber. I was really happy about that. I thought that went well. That was fun. Fun, getting the classic POS podcast crew together, minus Tommy Oliver and is that everyone? Anyway, regardless, that was a lot of fun. And it was a good week. Yes. Also, the Waking Sleeping Beauty, which I'm sorry I'm talking about these at the beginning, was interesting because I shot that in June 2018 before I started doing streams or anything, and I finally edited it. So if you watch that, that's why it is in shot the old way in my old apartment, because it was a long time ago. I have like over 15 videos I've shot and haven't edited. Some will never see the light of day, but a lot will. So you might see my old apartment pop up from time to time. I don't think anytime soon. But anyway, no, Jackson Hero were not on the original team. They're kind of like after Giant Size POS podcast, they show up. Jax and Hero are like the Wolverine and Colossus of POS podcast. If Paleo hates and they hate that I just said that, then that is fine. But if they like that, then great. Anyway, where was I going with this? Let's, I think that's all we need to talk about. But before we do, let's talk about a few, the Patreon, Discord, all that good stuff. First off, if everything I make is supported by viewers like you, either through super chats during the show, which I very much appreciate, or through my Patreon, which is linked below in the description. You get things like postcards, Skype calls, exclusive videos like my commentary series where I talk, which is usually about once a week, where I talk about, give commentaries for classic Knock Force and Cletus the Fetus and other projects I've worked on, and that is only on Patreon, as well as the results of the movie review vote, and you get more voting power, just if you want to support either through that or Super Chat, either one is very much appreciated as long as you are financially able to do so. Also, if you enjoy this chat and you want to hang out more than just when I do the shows, Sinram. Okay. That is very generous of Sinram. Thank you very much, Sinram. Said, nice haircut, Jim. Coming to you live from Folsom Paradise, aka my home and laptop where it's easier to type than my phone. Plus, I'm quite drunk at the moment. First time I'm joining the chat from home. Yay. Well, cheers to you, drunk Sinram. Cheers to you, sir. Cheers. I'm glad you're here. Sinram, I hope you're having it sounds like you are having a good time, and I hope you have a good time tonight. That is very nice of you, man. Thank you so much. Cheers to you, sir. And we're going to do Netflix picks next week with Mr. Sinram, but awesome Mr. Sinram. Cheers to you. Anyway, so the Discord is also in the description if you like hanging out with the people in the chat, or you see the people in the chat and you're watching it later and you're like, I'd like to hang out with them, then you should come and join. Us a lot of cool stuff. If you join and then you message me that, hey, I joined, or if anyone does and you want some stickers, I still have a bunch of stickers. Why don't we mail some more out? So if you have not gotten them, or just want to give them to friends for Christmas, or want to give them to someone for Christmas, I don't really care what you do with them. They're yours at that point. What am I going to do? So if you want them, message me on Discord. And please join the Discord server. There's a lot of cool stuff. There's Ask Jim, where you can ask me a question, and I hope we'll answer in a timely manner. There's suggestions for Jim, which actually, no joke, Cornbread helped suggest the Scott Pilgrim segment tonight. I do listen to the suggestions. Sometimes they fit that week. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you'll see them in 6 months or something. But if you suggest it, there's a higher chance I will do it than, if you don't. So, and it's a great way to interact. I ask like, what's going to be the biggest story? I release the segments a little earlier on there. It's also a great community. Austin and Zane Powers do a great job. There's general, there's a novelty card chat. I'm sure I'm forgetting. There's a video game one. I don't know what goes on in there, but they do a great job. It's a great Discord server, and I'm very proud of it. So, would you care if we burn them and defile them? What? The video game chat? What are we talking about? I think I missed something there. I don't know what that is, but I feel like I would care. But cheers to you, St. Paris? I don't. Alright, so I'm going to say this at the top of the show. Of all the weeks I've done shows covering movie news, like ever that I've done this is one that has more earth-shattering, crazy news than I've ever done. So if we run out of time to do something, that is highly possible. We're going to spend a lot of time on HBO Max because it is obviously something that I should talk about. Oh, the stickers, you can defile and burn the stickers if you would like to. That's fine. Sorry, I'm stupid. But anyway, this is a big story. It is potentially one of the biggest stories that have happened to movies this century or of all time. And I'm not trying to be silly or anything like that. I know people are there's some people who are recognizing how earth-shattering this is. There are other people who are trying to say it's not so bad, theaters will survive. On this show, I don't like to sort of lie and minimize things. I like to be real and to tell you the actual facts of the situation. Because I'm not the kind of dad who's, you're all adults. I'm not the dad who's going to level with you just to put you to bed. You're all grown-ups, and this shit is over. There is no mincing words at this point. This is the beginning of the end of what it was before. We are not going back. Theaters are not going to be the way they were before, and there's no way to lock Pandora's box at this point. What happened with HBO Max this week was the bell, and there is just no way that studios are going to play with theaters the way they used to. And the major studios are all probably going to go to streaming after this. So what happened basically, HBO Max, through Warner Media, announced that every film in Warner Brothers' 2021 slate will be going to HBO Max simultaneously with theaters. It will play exclusively on HBO Max for about 30 days or 31 days or whatever, 30, 31, who cares? And then we'll leave HBO Max to go to VOD because, and this is actually true, they don't have much leverage with theaters. Theaters kind of have to put up with this. Amazon and Video on Demand does have leverage, so that's why they couldn't break those deals. That's not a joke. That's what happened. I'm serious, actually. They couldn't break on-demand deals and things like that. They could break theatrical. So they chose, really starting with Wonder Woman, but this announcement this week was for everyone in 2021, but this model starts with Wonder Woman 1984 on Christmas Day. That these things will all go to HBO Max. That is 17 films, major films, and I'm actually going to list them all off so you kind of understand fully what I'm talking about, because I think when people say that, they just say 17 movies, and you think, oh, well, those aren't, how big are they? They're pretty big. Some of them I think it'll work out for, but like films like James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, The Matrix 4, Dune, Godzilla vs. King Kong, Space Jam: A New Legacy, Little Things, I forget what that is exactly. I think that's a serial killer one. Judas and the Black Messiah, which is a Black Panther biopic about a Black Panther, starring Daniel Kaluuya, which has a lot of Oscar buzz. Tom and Jerry, A New Mortal Kombat, Those Who Wish Me Dead. That might have been the serial killer one. I forget. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. In the Heights, which is a Lin-Manuel Miranda musical. Reminiscence, Malignant, The Many Saints of Newark, which is a Sopranos prequel. King Richard, and Cry Macho. Those will all be doing that. I think ultimately, what the issue with this versus theaters is that there's no way that theaters are going to be back up in terms of, I mentioned earlier, kind of an important thing that had happened that a lot of people weren't talking about was when the theater convention that happens in Las Vegas, that happens right before summer movie season, had been bumped to August of 2021. That was not a good sign of how the industry felt about itself. Warner's was looking at, they need to make money. This is a huge economic upheaval because of COVID, and they need to figure out what to do. So they couldn't release in theaters. They weren't going to make their money back. So they decided to go to HBO Max. I think the reason this is a bigger deal is because it shows a model that they've been wanting to go to, and that model is going to make them more money in the long term. Why this is going to make them more money ultimately is an interesting thing, and I saw John Campea talk about it. I've heard a couple people talk about it online. Not a lot, actually. But Netflix spends about billions of dollars on licensing. They spend a lot on original productions. They spend a lot on operating costs. But they spend billions of dollars in licensing. If they did not have those licensing costs, Netflix would be making a huge profit, which they don't. They have a whole debt issue, which we're not getting into tonight. But if HBO Max or Disney Plus doesn't license anything, or license them to the degree that Netflix does, because they would never need to, they would be making a greater profit than Netflix if they were just close to those numbers, which I think they can do. And they would be making a bigger profit than they're making off of theaters at this moment. And I'm not talking about like in 2019, in 2018, when things were crazy, they would be making more money. This is something they've probably known for a while, and seeing the way theaters are going, they've decided to put more eggs into that basket because the long term of that is worth more than the idea that this theater industry and how we prefer to view movies. I think people are looking at this too much of like how they like to see movies, and I like theaters. But the problem is financially, this is not viable anymore. And this is a film business. In addition, I think the problem with movie theaters is it is hard for a lot of people to get to them. I was thinking actually about how for me to see a movie before I had a kid was easy. I could just go after work. I could, see several movies at a night sometimes, like who cares? But when you have a kid, oftentimes what I have to do is wait till my daughter was in bed, which would be pretty late, and then I'd go to the theater, and I'd probably be seeing a movie at like 10. I'd get home like 12:31 if I'm lucky. I'd shoot a review. I'd go to bed and then go to work. To be honest with you, if HBO Max had that movie, a lot of those films, I would probably not do that unless it was a big event. I haven't done that in a long time, and sometimes I liked it because it's fun to go to the movies, and other times I'd have to rush there. I'd want to rush home, and that's just me personally. But I know a lot of people who have kids who can never, it's a lot of money to see a movie, especially like, what if that movie sucks? What if you didn't have the greatest time? You know what I mean? There's like nothing you can really do, and you spent a ton of money. And financially, also, some people don't live near a theater, or live near a theater they like, or live near a theater that's playing the movie they want. And the idea that streaming works out for people in a lot better way. They'll be more adventurous. You can be more adventurous. You're like, I don't want to pay $15 for that. But you put on streaming where you're like, sure. There's advantages that they know about. The fact that they can't seem to, diversify because they can't, spend $5 million on like a smaller movie with some untested talent. They really had to stop doing it. The film business isn't in a good place. It hasn't been in a good place in a little bit, because you can't break new directors. And suddenly they're looking at this and like, well, if we have this huge production, which by the way, HBO Max and Disney, if they just become streaming services and not really movie studios as they were, they can actually spend more money on production than Netflix and make more money than Netflix. And I think that's something they know. So I do think this is the end, because I think people are I think some movie theaters will live. I think there's certain movies that will keep going, like Top Gun is trying to, and Tom Cruise actually are trying to make big screen experiences, and I think there'll be a certain line in that. But I think they also know when the dust settles on this, is the theater count in America going to be lower, which I think it will. And you're not going to see 250 million weekends. That's just not happening. That's a fact. That is not happening at the end of this, because too many theaters are closing. None of these corporations have shown very much interest in buying Regal and AMC and Cinemark. That's like, no one cares, man. Like, it's just like they're not as financially viable as they should be. Sure, they could, but they haven't. The Paramount degree's open, and what's going on? It seems like people are more focused on streaming, because financially you are going to make more money on streaming. Unless they kind of figure out a way to make theaters make as much money as Netflix and, Amazon. I don't know how much Amazon Prime makes, but things like that. So this is not good. I just think most people see about 5 movies a year. I expect with this change, you'll see about 2 movies a year. And I think I'm being optimistic. I think a lot of people who are casual film goers are going to like this. I know they say this is a year experiment. I'm not treating it that way. I think that's a stupid idea to say that it is a 1-year experience. Press F in the chat to pay respects, friends. Cheers to you, Male Tears. Cheers to you. Now, HBO Max is not worldwide. This is going to, with COVID and with lockdowns and things, Wonder Woman 84's release date worldwide is a complicated thing, because in certain European countries, they're going to be locked down when it comes out. In certain places, it's going to be, it's going to come out here. They can only have it at certain times. So the international releases on these things are going to be interesting. This shows that there's more of a question on HBO Max going both international and also going with Roku. But we're going to see a very interesting international thing. They are relying a lot more on international box office, but it sounds like they want HBO Max to be worldwide. Like Netflix, I know some people in Canada, they have a different thing going and things like that, but we'll see what they're going to do with that. Endgame will forever be the highest grossing film. I mean, Zane Powers, I think that's possible. That's possible right now. But cheers to you. But it seems like they're trying to work out those deals. HBO Max, I don't have as much confidence in doing that, because to me, it's like you get that Roku deal before Wonder Woman, and the clock is ticking, guys. Like, just make a deal with Roku. Jesus fucking shit. I know Roku asked for too much, but I think Disney Plus has seen the advantages to that, because much like, Apple Plus doesn't really do the Roku ads, but they try to do it, with notifications. But Roku really sells, like, oh, Pluto has this has this. And they definitely do it based on my, sorry, I had an itchy ear, based on my like what you watch, and they help those services. And I think they really want HBO Max to do that, and it would be in their best interest, because they don't have a huge viewing base. I don't think a lot of people in Kyle Buchanan, who's a great reporter, has mentioned that because of their failure marketing HBO Max, they're ending the theatrical business. I don't think that is the reason. I think it's because, what are you going to do? It's not a marketing decision. It's because of the failure of HBO Max. HBO Max would be a huge success when it gets on Roku. It is actually a good streaming service. When I talk about it, there's faults I want to talk about as well, but it's actually a really good one. And it is succeeding in a certain way. It's not taking off because it's not available in places people watch streaming, which is stupid. And they didn't launch it correctly the way Disney did. But it's not that. It's more just like they're looking at their bottom line. They're realizing that in the long term, it is better for them to release these movies on streaming and not theaters. So Jordan Bouchard, I'm sorry, Jordan Bouchard, comments on Netflix trying to pay $100 million for Congress Godzilla, but WB wants it for HBO Max. I did talk about that last week, but I will say, cheers to you. I think Netflix might have heard they were planning on that. I don't think Netflix knew about this announcement, but I think it probably would have been a little better on Netflix because Netflix has so much Godzilla content, and I don't think people think of HBO and Warner's when they think of Godzilla. But obviously that is going to go on HBO Max. I don't think it was a great... But check out my last show. It's in the chapters if you want to hear me talk more about that. But I think it would have been a better idea for them. They would have made $100 million, things like that. I think it was $200 million almost. But I think it would have been a better deal to go to Netflix. Just sell that off. But they have a larger thing. But basically with HBO Max, they can make you have that memory of seeing it. On HBO Max, they can make their on-demand money. Then all these movies go back to HBO Max. So, I'm trying to think of other HBO Max things because there's a lot about just this. The other thing is HBO Max has ended their free trial period right after they changed the whole film business. So, I just think there is a Disney investors meeting call next week. It's been pretty known about this call for a while. The fact that this was announced this week, many people think Disney was going to announce something, and HBO Max got wind of it and jumped the gun. And maybe, because the thing is HBO or, AT&T or whatever have to buy out a lot of back-end deals. They've had to, stitch up a bunch of stuff to let this deal happen. They didn't let production companies know. In the Hollywood Reporter things, they mentioned Legendary, but also Village Roadshow that did The Matrix 4. But they've had to pay out Keanu Reeves, Gal Gadot, constant directors who have back-end deals. They have to pay those out based on contracts. These people, I think Gal Gadot got $10 million. I'd expect Disney is probably on the phone with Scarlett Johansson. Anyone else who's getting a back-end deal on their slate, who I'm so confused on what's on a slate or not. Warner's also put a flag in the sand, basically this is our slate for North America, which no one can do. And it was a huge power move because no one can say, this is our slate. It's almost like if COVID gets worse, guess what, bitch? This shit's going on HBO Max. The interesting thing is, and a lot of people have said, why didn't they do Batman? Batman's coming in March 2022. I think with the March 2022 thing, honestly, I really do think Batman is a lot of money. Batman's $1 billion franchise, guaranteed. Now you might say, well, so is Wonder Woman, but I think there's a certain point where you can't keep kicking that can down the road. Batman is far enough, and I'm not saying it because I like Batman or something. I'm serious about this. If this is a total clusterfuck, which it might be, I don't think that's the case. I think this is, even if not every studio does it, if this is something, this bell can't be unrung, and it's maybe it gets a little bit back to normal, but it's not going back fully. But I can see them not doing this with the Batman, and the fact that they cut it off at 2021, you can read into that. I don't think that's a stupid idea. I think there's a huge possibility that they are looking at the Batman and looking at the future of that and wanting that to be theatrical, because Batman as a film franchise is just too important to that company. And since it's still being made, and since they have enough of time that vaccine and all that stuff, and when being distributed, which we don't even know when that is, but March of 2022 seems a little more reasonable about launching a big theatrical movie, So I wouldn't be surprised if they start being more selective with certain titles, but not all of them. I think it might show the studio's faith in certain titles that they could just release to theaters. But again, that's the other thing that's interesting about this whole thing, is if this had happened in a stronger theatrical year, the studios would probably go more theatrical and hold off on things. But last year, when you had Rise of Skywalker and Endgame and billion-dollar movies coming out everybody's butt, it was just crazy. All these billion-dollar, seriously, there's these huge event movies. I've Frozen 2, all of them. We don't have that this year. If there was no COVID, this would still be a lesser movie year. Wonder Woman was the hit, was the big thing. Anyone who thinks Dune was making $1 billion is a fucking idiot. And anyone who says that is wrong. Like, Dune, I'm not talking about the quality of it, and I have no problem with Dune, but it is just like this. That is such a financial disaster. I'm excited for it, but financially, whoa, guys. I don't know about that. But Zen Power says, are there any people you think would still refuse back-end deals and demand to go to theaters? And if so, how will that be handled, do you think? That's a good question, Zen Powers. Cheers to you. If you hear about Ryan Reynolds is a good example of this with Netflix. He makes about $30 million, sometimes $35, based on his good back-end deals with like Deadpool and things like that. Or Free Guy. Remember that? What is happening with that again? I don't even remember now. But I think it'll be handled by them getting bigger paychecks. Or with back-end deals. Because the one thing about, with back-end deals, you can see they're just probably going to get higher rates. That's most likely what's going to happen. They might get back-end deals just for international, just for certain countries. They might not want it because the other thing about this is AMC has said they're going to go after better rates for them to help their business. They're not putting up with that percentage that they used to. They're basically like, you're not getting the majority percentage anymore. We are going to fuck with you. And Warner's, to their credit, has said they're going to give theaters a bigger cut now. They did not let the theaters really know about this. I know AMC's been a little more vocal, but I think what you're going to see is theaters are going to make more money. I'm hoping that changes things and we get a better theatrical experience. But the other thing that bothers me and worries me about theaters is theaters for a while. I like seeing movies with multiple groups of people. That is actually I like seeing movies with people who I would never like hang out with or something like that. The problem is having a good theatrical experience is basically treated like a gated community at this point. Because I've been to the Alamo Drafthouse, and although I very much like it, it is just like when I go there are too many people like me or making more, and it doesn't go much below me, and that's not good. And I think it's because of you have to go there and spend a lot of money, and most people, the date is the movie. You know, they're eating at home or something. And I just think the idea that if you're going to see a movie that's not at that premium price, it's almost like the suburbia of theaters, you're instantly having a bad experience. And I think AMC and Regal and so forth. Although I will say I think Regal is better at handling it. They have better theaters. Their security is always a little more on it. In my mind, I'm more pro Regal, even though I haven't been to one in a long time at this point. But I think if they're making more money, they do need to step it up. I think that is something the projection needs to be better. Obviously, I think that's going to take a little bit to get to that. But I have talked before about how I have an issue with this idea of separating movies. And like, you know, the theater I used to go to had everybody from all of Brooklyn. When Alamo opened up and more of these kind of theaters, it became less of that and just became like almost like the poor theater and the rich theater. And that needs to go away. We need to make this more for everybody and to bring people together. I know people aren't into that, but I hope theaters survive, but I think it's going to be more of a premium experience. I don't think they're going to be able to spend like $45 like Spielberg and Lucas suggested. I think that's foolish unless it's like, I know they experimented with stuff, but if you're like getting a bunch of things and things like that, but I expect theaters to close. I think one of the chains is going to go bankrupt. This is going to be bad, and there's just no way going back to it. I expect another studio to fall to this either next week or within the year. 4 studios have streaming services right now. 3 have ones that are launched. You have Peacock with Universal. You have Warner's with HBO Max. You have Disney with Disney Plus. They could just do it right now. Paramount has Paramount Plus. From my understanding, Top Gun is not going to streaming. Because it is an IMAX experience. That's the only thing I've heard on that. So, yeah. And I think people would pay for that. I do think people would pay for to see Top Gun in IMAX. Like, I was actually thinking when this is breaking, like, what would I go to the theater for? And I saw every Mission Impossible after Ghost Protocol in the IMAX. And I paid for it. And I made, like, special things for it. Like a special trip. I made the time to do that. And I think like that's what people will go to the theater for, because frankly, as like a dad, with how busy I am and everything, if I could just see that at home, like I would have seen Doctor Sleep if HBO Max was around then and it was on HBO Max. I would have just, that's how I would have seen Doctor Sleep, because I was like, I can't go to the theater again and sit through another like reboot of, I just like physically couldn't do it. I've seen too many reboots at that point. But if I had waited a couple days, I would have watched it on HBO Max. So, all right, I think we've exhausted that topic. But Blood T said $1 billion box office will die. I know there are questions later in the show from Patreon. I will talk about it more then. If you want to talk about it, either in the comments here, tweet me or anything like that. I understand people are upset. I don't agree with this idea of acting like we're going to be okay. And there's all these things about like, we, things are going to be, everyone acts like theaters are over. This is just like Trolls. Motherfucker, this ain't Trolls. This is the end. Like, this is the beginning of the change. Like, this is not like Trolls. This is not like Scoob. This is not like Frozen 2 and Onward going to Disney Plus. This is it. There is nothing. There's just no way to go back on it. So anyone who tells you that is being foolish. They're not fully, really. I don't agree with that kind of stuff. I know Stuckman did that, and Stuckman and I are obviously very different, but in a lot of ways. But I don't agree with that. I don't think that's the right attitude to have, is to like kind of, 2020 is a motherfucker and we got to treat it that way. You know what I'm saying? All right. I need some water. That was, yeah. But you know what? Drive-ins. Who would have thought, man? I don't know. All right. Sorry. I just felt like there's no other way to... I wanted to start the show... Normally I'd start the show with like, guys, Quibi's dead. Isn't that hilarious? But I just thought like, this is the week you couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? It's just not... All right. Let's do Quibi's dead, because I think that would be fun. So Quibi's dead. What happened? A lot of stuff. I downloaded Quibi again just because I thought it was funny. You can't go to it, but I did download it. If apparently you did sign up for Quibi, towards the end, they would basically tell you once you entered, like once they announced the end, once you got to the end of the billing cycle, you were cut off Quibi. It was just the end. So, was that my most epic rant? I don't know. But so, I hope so. I don't know. I hope you guys like that. I felt like that was mad serious. But Quibi, basically you couldn't access it. And I heard there was a podcast about the Cancel Too Soon did a podcast on just Quibi. And they talked about how they contacted Quibi, like, we would like to cover Quibi before it ends. We'd like to hear it. And they were basically like, we'd like more access to it. And Quibi was like, no, you're getting cut off at a certain point. Even people at the 90-day, like, there are a lot of people who couldn't access it the last week because they were abandoning ship. They locked up their Twitter. It is just like, whoa. Quibi bounced out. The interesting thing I will say about Quibi, and I think should be brought up, how could Kasperg not know what the kid's like? I know he got it so well with Shrek. Why was there not a Quibi Shrek show? Why did that not happen? Katzenberg, you failed us. You shark-tailed up this Quibi. Cheers to you, Thane Powers. Oh, apparently people like that rant. Okay. I didn't think it was a rant, really, but... yeah, Michael Eisner is laughing this Quibi shit up. I bet he calls him. He's like... I bet Michael Eisner calls Jeffrey Katzenberg. It was like, hey, how's it going? I heard about your Quibi thing. He's like, yeah, I'm a little bummed. He goes, oh, hold on. I'll be back in a Quibi. All right. Anyway, so Quibi is dead. I don't get Quibi. Saber, everyone knows you didn't get Quibi. He didn't even watch Quibi. I'm actually not sure if he did. Did you watch Quibi? The most money-making streaming app award. He did. Actually, they did clean up at the Emmys because of a weird category that only Quibi could win in. But yes, Quibi is over. But I will say this about Quibi, flat out. When I listened to the podcast on Cancels Too Soon, I read a lot of things on Quibi. The most interesting thing I will say about I actually watched Quibi. I mean, made 4 videos about Quibi somehow. Everyone's experience with Quibi, from what I've read, was different from mine, and I very much didn't hear people talk about the same shows I watched. Actually, like I heard few people talk about like Reno 911. They talked about like Cellular. They talked about Dummy, which I didn't watch. So there was a lot of kind of interesting things with Quibi that I don't think I would like. I do feel like it was a better service than maybe we gave it a chance for. I think it should have been ads for it and all the things like that. Breaking news, Shrek got golden arm poison. Alright, I like that. I like that, Austin. Cheers to you. Anyway, yeah, Quibi is over. It's done. People are saying Katzenberg might walk off into the sun. You motherfuckers, Katzenberg ain't done. I'm cursing a lot. Katzenberg ain't never done. You'll never stop Katzenberg. Come on. Nothing can stop Katzenberg, right? Disney couldn't stop Katzenberg. You think Quibi's stopping Katzenberg? He'll be back in like 7 Quibis. We're going to hear Katzenberg's going to take some executive job. You guys watch. They're rebooting Shrek. He's going to show up to that script meeting whether they like it or not. And he's going to claim he came up with the ideas despite the fact that he just drank coffee and scrolled through his phone looking for mentions of Quibi. Anyway, all right. What about Grumpus? I mean, yeah, that is the one thing. Oh, well. Predict how long Oaxis could have survived. Oaxis, when that drops, guys, y'all motherfuckers don't... Oh, man, I need to stop doing that. I really wanted for an April Fool's, and I feel like the moment has passed, is to make a cartoon community, like, get a bunch of cameos and have everyone make up a show that would be on Oaxis and review it. That would have been funny. It's too late now. It's too late. If Paleo's still here, Paleo, tell me what your made-up Oaxis show would be. I would love it. Just say it in the chat. I will read it out. Now I'll talk about something serious. So when Paleo writes this, he'll feel really embarrassed. All right. Elliot, intoxicated update. Just finished dinner. Gyros and rice. Sinram. That sounds nice. Man, Sinram's living his best life over there. Cheers to you, sir. All right. So, Elliot PAge came out this week and announced that he is trans and non-binary. His pronouns are he and they. Elliot PAge, who is currently starring on The Umbrella Academy, is most known for Juno, X-Men: The Last Stand, Inception, and other things. But this is a big deal because this is probably the biggest trans actor we have currently. The interesting thing, and a couple of people have brought this up. Well, first off, I want to say congratulations to Elliot PAge. It sounds like you're very happy. It sounds like, first off, that the company like Netflix was very gracious about it. They changed all of the movies and all the I think they changed it not just on the thing, but on the show itself, which is really nice. I think they were probably tipped off before. I think Elliot PAge probably said, hey, I'm going to do this. I just want you to know what were you planning on doing just so we can get on the same page. I sort of think that happened. However, regardless of that, regardless of the planning, I'm not trying to say they were like fake sympathizing. I'm just logistics of it. I think they did a very nice job. I was wondering like what the protocol would be. I think I mentioned that on Twitter, like, is there a protocol in place? Do these companies know what to do and so forth? I think Elliot PAge has established what to do because Netflix changed the thing. They're not going to have Elliot PAge they're not changing his character on Umbrella Academy. Apparently that was a decision that Elliot PAge agreed with. Basically saying like that he's an actor. And even though I think the character on Umbrella Academy is identifies as female, they're not really changing that. That's fine, according to him. If he's fine with it, then that's cool. I think Days of Future Past. You're right, Syndrome. Sorry about that. I do think that, and a lot of people brought this up that we talked about various times that there isn't a trans actor currently who can open a movie to a big, has enough clout to open any type of movie. There's just no one that big right now, regardless of who you think is big. And trans actors are not doing financially very well before Elliot PAge came out. Several of the bigger ones can't even afford health insurance. Ace. Well, I'll check out Twitter in a second. But I think what will work. Oh, you do. I need to post more of these on Twitter. Anyway, or on whatever. But I think what this will do is, if a studio is like, we want to do this certain trans project, they have a star to be in those things and can set up more of a situation, get a conversation with the public in terms of movie stars and movie actors, which we previously have not had, which I think is going to be really good. I think that's a really positive change. Obviously, I think we should look at it as both of like what this means for the future of the film industry as well as Elliot himself. But I think it's a very positive change for the film industry, because we will have a prominent actor who's been nominated for an Oscar, who's been in a Christopher Nolan movie, who's been in superhero movies and all that stuff, who has now come out as trans. This is establishing something and helping a path to success that we previously didn't have. And I think that is amazing. Also, but predominantly, congrats to Elliot PAge. All right, so, okay. I think we're going to be cutting a bunch of stuff. I'm already cutting some right now. Okay. In the other big news, I'll talk about two things. All right. The Hilda trailer. Hilda is going to be on Netflix on December 14th. The Hilda trailer looked great. I know some people got the little stuffed animal, the little wooden creature person. I'm not cool enough to get those things, but to the people who did, congrats. I would love one of those, but regardless, sorry, that was jealousy, I guess. But it looks great. I'm really excited for Hilda. I'm excited to go back in that world. I need to rewatch season 1. So Star Wars Detours, not a whole episode, just a clip of one, leaked on Sunday. It is already gone from the internet. Lucasfilm took care of that. It looked fine. When watching it, I did think, and you look at the Lego specials, why did they not? I don't understand why it isn't on Disney Plus, because they put the holiday Lego special out. It seems comparable in terms of comedy. It's not going to hurt the brand. Apparently, Lucasfilm is, according to many rumors, and I think it's probably true, is thinking of a way to release it on Disney Plus at some point in the future. They haven't come up with concrete plans, but showing how big that leaked thing was, I think they should just do it at some point in the next year. Just like get it over with, unless it's a holiday special thing and Lucas is embarrassed, which it doesn't sound like he is. Just release it. Like, can we just like be done with this thing? Because it's just like, I don't think it's like good enough from what I've seen. It's just a silly Star Wars thing. I agree. When Force Awakens was coming out, it represented a different thing. But it's like, Rise of Skywalker did way more damage than, Detours is going to be. So just put it out. Just, no one's going to even watch it anyway. It's just like, whatever. It's done. Let Seth Green have his dumb show. Anyway. So, the big news, I think, in animation this week is that DuckTales has been canceled after 3 seasons. The big finale is going to air in 2021. The creators kind of wrote every season, apparently, as an ideal way to end the show. I never really got to watch much of DuckTales, and I actually started downloading the episodes right before this announcement. I need to start watching them like I watched Mandalorian. I end up watching every episode on the subway on my way to work. I'm going to start doing that with DuckTales. I want to catch up. Izzy's been telling me to watch it forever, but I really should because I love the original show. It got 3 good seasons. It's pretty well reviewed. People love that show. I think, I think it's sad to see it go. It seems like the Darkwing Duck thing is happening. But I think it came at an awkward time for Disney because they didn't know what to do with XD. They didn't really know how to put animation on Disney Channel. And they maybe should have waited till Disney Plus and had it on Disney Plus and had it on there. They didn't promote it very well on Disney Plus. I don't think they fully knew what to do with it. I know it had a Hulu deal at a certain point, but I think they need to figure that out better. And I think that just kind of got lost in the corporate shuffle, unfortunately. Catbot158 says we got Animaniacs back, but at the cost of DuckTales RIP. That is true. I should check out Ace the Wind Riders thing. But cheers to you, Catbot. And R.I.P. DuckTales. It seemed like a cool show to me. I watched a few of them. I liked what I saw. All right, let me check out Ace the Wind Rider's thing. I'll retweet it, and then we'll move on to. I did a fleet. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is cool. This is cool. Hold on, let me get my. So I see if it. All right, look at this. Me and Godzilla. Hold on. Can you see that even? Anyway, I'm gonna I'll retweet it here. Hold on. Quote tweet. Me and. Hey, Buster. Buster's right here. Godzilla. Tweet. Okay. All right. That was live tweeting. There we go. Okay. You should I mean, the creators, by the way, are more just like, hey, we got to have be a part of DuckTales. I think that's pretty neat. You know what I mean? All right. So, the Toxic Avenger movie, which is still going to be directed by Macon Blair, is going to star Peter Dinklage as the Toxic Avenger. I think Peter Dinklage would be great. I grew up with Toxic Avenger. I more grew up with Toxic Crusaders, but I've seen the movie a couple times. It's probably the big trauma movie. Macon Blair is sort of an interesting choice. He had that Sundance movie, which I didn't like. I didn't like that movie. I was not into that movie at all. The Macon Blair's other directed film. I like his acting in Blue Ruin, which Paleo put on his top 10 movies of the decade on that video we were on. And then but I think that's kind of an interesting choice, at least getting like a weirder indie director to do Toxic Avenger. I'm glad they didn't get someone inappropriate. So I have some faith in it, but I'm not a fan of him as a director. But Peter Dinklage as the Toxic Avenger is cool casting. So I'm into that. So, moving on to Cartoon Network is going to be playing Wonder Woman, the original film from 2017. There's been some controversy about that because I don't know if you're aware of this, guys, but that Wonder Woman movie is not a cartoon. The thing about that, though, is Warner Media and how it's run by AT&T. I didn't get into that. It's not run like Warner used to be and Turner used to be, and they're looking at these brands more as general entertainment brands. HBO is having that transformation currently. HBO used to be more of a prestige thing, and everyone keeps saying, like Netflix, like, we want to be like what HBO did. Or even Quibi said they wanted to be like what HBO was, which is cool. And now they're making HBO into sort of like CBS or something. I mean, not exactly, but they're trying to make it into more of a general entertainment brand. They're sort of trying to do that with Cartoon Network in this case. I think that is a mistake. Quentin Reviews just made a CN Reel video. CN Reel didn't work at all. I don't think it ever would. But, yeah, I think that's basically what they're trying to do. The AT&T running of Warner Media has not been great, and this is another example of it. I think in terms of like kids watching Wonder Woman, that's not the part that bothers me. It's just like, can we just not do that? I wouldn't honestly. What you should have done with Wonder Woman is like give Turner Classic Movies some ratings, guys. Play Wonder Woman on TBS and play it with commercial free on Turner Classic Movies. You know what I mean? Like, I really wouldn't mind if you did that. I think that would have been fine. I think that would have been a good compromise. I think that the cinephiles have been upset, but come on, who cares about? You don't care about them. I mean, you do a little, but not too much. And just say like, look, this is a one-time thing. We're just doing to hype up the movie. And hey, you can see Wonder Woman commercial free. Anyway, I like Cinerem said, Jim, MTV isn't playing music videos either. That's true. Do they? You know what's funny? Don't even know. But anyway, cheers to you. You know, they could be. Maybe they are. I'm not gonna check, but maybe. I'm not gonna check. Cheers to you, Sunra. In other news, the Oscars are hoping for an in-person ceremony. Good luck with that shit, Oscars. Good luck with that. April? You guys are dumb. Earwig and the Witch trailer came out. This is a new film for Goro, which is, I believe, a Studio Ghibli film. It's kind of Studio Ghibli met with CG. It looks weird. I'm a little more into it than most people, but I'm sort of interested, at least, in that. I also saw the We Can Be Heroes trailer. That looks like a lot of fun. I'm liking the Robert Rodriguez late 2020 comeback here. I know he had a film, and Ramiro Ransan Film told me about it, where he tries to basically make a film with the budget of El Mariachi. I think that was coming on Tubi. I was actually sort of interested in that. I need to figure out what happened to that. Maybe I'll review that around We Can Be Heroes. But I like that there's this resurgence of people going like, hey, Robert Rodriguez is cool again. Because Robert Rodriguez is cool. He's never not been cool. He's a cool guy. I did a Spicegate video on him. You should check that out. I love Robert Rodriguez. He's just like, when I was getting to movies, he was like always this like dream amazing story, and then it's like I felt like people forget about that. But between The Mandalorian this week and We Can Be Heroes, I like this comeback. It shows like he's always been diverse. He's always had the grown-up action movie and the kids movies at the same time. I don't think anybody has the cool career he has. So, Oscar Isaacs is going to be playing Solid Snake in a Metal Gear Solid movie. I have no clue what that means, but this is from the director of Kong Skull Island, which I know he's been trying to make a video game movie for a little bit. Basically, a movie with that star and that director sounds good to me, and it's like a action thing or whatever. That sounds cool. I'm into it. So, we don't. You know what's funny? I was prepared for me going super long, so I think I didn't add a bunch of stuff. So I think we're okay on time, actually. So this Hulu Disney Plus merger thing, it's a rumor. It seems like a lot of people are giving it credence, so I might as well talk about it. I'm not 100% on this Hulu Disney Plus merger thing. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, you can just up the numbers. Hulu isn't really that big. But, Jim, you're grossing me out with your oldness. It's more of I just don't know very much about video games. But, anyway, cheers to you, Zane Powers. Sorry. I wouldn't be surprised if they merge them in some way where you can, like, set it up at the beginning to always just go to Disney Plus, and there's ways you can do that. But I also think, Disney... And I've said this before, and I was talking about this last week with the R-rated stuff that Disney's doing with Fox, that they have long wanted to be able to make more mature stuff and not do it under the Disney banner. So I really wouldn't be surprised if they just keep Hulu separate to an extreme degree, because they kind of have that avenue. You know what I mean? And to me, it's like merging with Disney Plus. I feel like they know that's not going to work as well. I think... Hulu seems to be working out a lot better than I would have thought under them. They're having like a banner year, or at least according to them. But it seems like they are, because they won't announce real numbers. But I just think they probably know they have to keep it separate. But if they come up with a way to do it, but it'd just be sort of weird, like when you think of how these apps play on like your TV or, something like that. Was it going to say Disney Plus / Hulu or something like that? It just doesn't seem like an idea that would really work. Like the channel within a streaming service thing, like you'd have to have multiple ones. Like it's not going to be one of the tiles on there, like, oh, and then there's Hulu, and like you have to put in a code it's just like, that doesn't sound like it would really work on streaming. If you really think about the logistics, to me, then this story falls apart. I know a lot of people are taking this very serious, and like I sort of think I should, but part of me, just the logistics of it just kind of makes me think, I don't know. Unless they have some crazy idea that I'm unaware of. But just looking at how streaming works currently, I just don't see it for me. So Monster Hunter. Wow. So Monster Hunter had a really racist joke about basically about the Chinese, and then it was opening in China, and then China decided to basically pull it, even though it played for Chinese censors and clearly they had seen this movie, but I guess it just got by them. They just make a reference to the I guess like the schoolyard rhyme. I don't even remember it now, the full thing, but like dirty knees, look at these Chinese, I forget the whole thing, but basically they make reference to that in Monster Hunter, and that is not going over well. So China is pulling it. It seems like, and it's now being cut from the movie. So even though the scene's on Twitter in fairly good quality too, so I'm not exactly sure about that one, but it seems like a major miscalculation, particularly because Paul W.S. Anderson films play very well in China, and I'm like super confused what he was fucking thinking about that. I'm also confused about the Chinese censors. There's a lot of like what was going on here, you know what I mean? There's like a lot of like who let this happen, like why did this happen the way it did? Like it's just overly confusing in a lot of ways how this happened. It just seems like there are a lot of checks and balances that ultimately failed, and then people went, oh, wait a minute. I think maybe the censors didn't know the joke, and then somebody who saw it went, wait, hold up, what the fuck? And then it like fell apart. But then like, why would the studio let that go? Why would the director think that was okay? There's just too many things where you're just like, whoa, dude. Apparently there is a Van Helsing movie coming from the director of Overlord. Oh, hey, how's it going, Paddle? Happy Saturday. Sorry for not being around. COVID struck my house. Oh my God. Cheers to everyone and Elliot PAge. Well, I hope you're doing better, Paddle, and cheers to you. I hope you're having a good Saturday and stay good in your home. We finished a Red Bull. Did we? Yes, we did. Killed the first one. But yeah, the Van Helsing movie sounds kind of cool from the director of Overlord. No one knows who's going to star in it. There are rumors about Channing Tatum, but he is attached to a Lord and Miller Universal Monster thing, not the Van Helsing thing. Just to be clear on that. I'm sorry. My ear decides to be itchy. That's gross. I'm sorry. There's a lot of Oscar talk about Tom Hanks' News of the World, which is a Paul Greengrass kind of Western. I'm curious about that. Some people said it's like The Mandalorian, but if it was just a Western, not a postmodern Star Wars thing. That sounds kind of interesting to me. But there's a lot of sort of Oscar talk about that. I think it's just opening limited in theaters only. And then Sound of Metal, which is a cool, like kind of like punk drummer movie about a guy sort of losing his hearing. I'm surprised we've actually been hearing a lot for Riz Ahmed, so I'm excited for that. And then finally, before we get into the Obits, and there's a lot of those this week, unfortunately, the MST3K host segment re-riff thing with Emily, the presumed new host, which they won't announce, is online. It's on their website. I need to tweet out that link. I did get to rewatch it. It plays really great. It is sort of a re-riff of a short that the combo of Bill Corbett, J. Elvis Weinstein, and Joel did for a charity thing. I like it. I'm still very pro Emily being the host of MST3K, but it is officially sort of out. It was not out on YouTube. I don't like how unavailable they're making it. It makes me wonder what is going on with that. Like, what is the deal with like how unavailable we're trying to make this thing? Like that I find extra confusing. I feel like they sort of like want, like this is like a thing they're letting the fans have and they're not spreading it for some reason. And like, what is the deal with that? Like, can they not, is it like a rights thing? I just sort of wish they'd clear that up. Maybe they did somewhere and I missed that. But if you would like to see it, I will tweet that out tomorrow and have if you want to watch the Emily thing, it's at this time code in this video. But it's like, I think I can't share it very well. I'm going to have to look into it. But I know Austin sent it to me. I think he might have posted it in the Discord. But I'm very pro her, as I've said before. All right, so let's do obituaries. And then I do have to pee. And then, it's Bugs Bunny's 24 Karat Holiday Special. That's what I'm reviewing first. But, all right, so we had intoxicated update. Now drinking pineapple/orange juice now. Yum. All right. Cheers to you, Sinram. So, first off, David Prowse died basically on Sunday. Or we heard about it on Sunday or whatever. He was an impressive actor, mainly physically. He was the body of Darth Vader. If you've seen the original Star Wars trilogy, if you saw him just walk in that, you always got the presence of Darth Vader. I think he did a lot for that character, more so than people realize. One of my huge things about Rogue One is that I could tell it wasn't David Prowse. And I didn't really like that part. You know, the scene in the hallway is cool, but it sort of bugged me. I was like, I know that's not Darth Vader. Same with Revenge of the Sith. Nattenbach64, who, by the way, was it you, Nattenbach64, who has, someone posted an interesting update to the Legends of the Hidden Temple thing. They actually applied to be a part of the Legends of the Hidden Temple thing. But anyway, cheers to you, Nattenbach64. Thank you very much for the super chat. But you could tell through his presence, he embodied that character. I did get to meet him in 1997 at the Senator Theater. It was sort of a premiere for Return of the Jedi. He showed up. He was very nice. I just said, hey, you know. But it was cool. He is huge. He was also in A Clockwork Orange. I think I saw him in something else at some point. But he was like a bodybuilder type of guy. But it was cool that, it was cool to have met him. It was cool to have what he did for film history. But the opening walkout of Darth Vader, that guy is impressive. That guy is evil. The way he physically moved scared you. And you wouldn't have that without that performance from David Prowse. Like, that character, I know we think of James Earl Jones, but a lot of that physicality is from, like, if you think of those lightsaber fights, that was David Prowse. That was not James Earl Jones. So David Prowse deserves a lot of the credit. And I think that's why, like, no one's ever been able to really be Darth Vader the way David Prowse could. Even if you got James Earl Jones without David Prowse, what's the point? Hugh Keyes Byrne also died this week. He was Toe Cutter in the original Mad Max, and then Immortan Joe in Mad Max Fury Road, which is an insane arc for an actor. I think he's one of the. Is he the only one who was in both? I actually don't know. But he died this week. That was very sad because I think he did a great villain performance in both of them. Iconic villains in both of them. Like, which you can't. I can't think of anyone who's played two different iconic villains in the same franchise and two different cinema classics. The first Mad Max and Mad Max Fury Road. It's sad to see him go. I think it's amazing that George Miller was able to give him the chance to be in both. I love seeing interviews with him. I think that's a huge loss in cinema. And tonight, we lost David Lander, I think. I'm sorry. Who was, part of Laverne and Shirley. He was part of Lenny and Squiggy with, Michael McKean, sorry. And, he did a lot of voice work. He was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He was a great actor, and it's sad to see him go as well. And holy shit, we lost a lot of people. All right, so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to use the bathroom. Then I'm going to review Bugs Bunny's 24-karat holiday special. Then Scott Pilgrim vs. Animation. And then do picks on HBO Max and talk about the service a little bit. I do not have a guest because this HBO Max news kind of threw everything out, and I didn't want to ask someone very last minute. So that is why it is just me. It is more of a planning thing than anything. I was actually going to do a review of Apple Plus, sorry. And then this whole thing happened, and I was like, I feel like it's not a right time for that. So anyway, I will be right back. But thank you very much for coming. Thank you for all the super chats. But I will be right back after this. And yeah, cool. Okay. All right. It's all wow. Cinram's funny. Drunk, I gotta say. Oh, man. Yeah, it has been a night. All right, so, I need to put Ace the Windrider's fan art. I wanted to have fan art during the breaks, and I haven't been really good at it. But I think I'll do that. Get Ace the Windrider's Godzilla one at least. Maybe I'll just start a folder on my computer. Just start saving the fan art and then have them during the thing. Because I wanted to do that more, and I haven't been. And Ace Windrider's done 2 of them, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think I should. All right, let's have some water. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, if you can go back, it's sort of pretty much at the beginning of the show, the HBO Max thing. Sorry. I can't talk about it I pretty much did talk about it forever. Didn't I? In a way? Yeah, I did. All right. So, first of the segment, fan art category in the Discord, please. Cinram, that is a good idea, but it's up to Austin and Zane Powers. I'm sorry to make you make another channel and put you on the spot like that. But, where were we? Also, happy birthday to Nintendo. I don't think he's watching, but if he is, happy birthday. So, Bugs Bunny's 24... Okay, so today I'm going to talk about, first off, Bugs Bunny's 24-karat holiday special. This is a new holiday special that is available on HBO Max. It's funny when I think about the Looney Tunes. I don't think we talk about them as much, and I don't know why that is. I feel like the Animaniacs got a lot of attention, and the Looney Tune is... Oh, there is an art and self-promotion channel. That's true. Maybe it should just go in there. That's a good point, Austin. That's a good point. Sorry to put you on the spot. Austin and Zane Powers do a great job. Apologies. Cheers to them, though. But anyway, I think Looney Tunes deserves as much kind of attention, if not more, than the Animaniacs reboot. I'm a little confused why that is. Felt like there was a little bit when it started and it kind of died off. But it is, in my mind, at least pretty comparable to the original Looney Tunes, and at least gets the spirit maybe in a better way than Animaniacs. This comparison is stupid. But what works so great about this special specifically, since I'm reviewing that and not really Looney Tunes on HBO Max entirely, is that most Christmas specials, and they have characters, have them do a big Christmas thing. It's like a different episode where they, have to get the special Christmas tree or like the special thing in their sci-fi world or whatever. In this, it's very much the Looney Tunes doing Looney Tune cartoons that are Christmas related. They're not all together doing, a Christmas Carol or something like that. You get individual cartoons kind of wrapped up in this sort of like anthology series way, the way those those cartoons are on HBO Max. And it worked great for a Looney Tunes Christmas special, which is what I signed up for, so it was awesome. Because I actually liked what they did with it. It felt more fun because you didn't know what they're going to do. Now it has various different ones. It starts off with Porky and Daffy helping Santa Claus, and when Santa Claus is having a strike because the elves, they come to help him, and they get into all that. It gets into like labor rights and stuff. That's interesting. You have Taz doing door-to-door you have Taz or the Tasmanian Devil doing door-to-door caroling, and people open the door, and like you keep seeing him go to different houses and things change. That was actually kind of inventive. Actually, you have Tweety and Granny going to the store for holiday sales, and Sylvester's trying to get Tweety. That was a fun short, as well as Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner. Basically doing a Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner thing, but with Christmas trees and stuff. Sort of basic, but like what else do you want from them? And then Bugs and Elmer Fudd kind of going back and forth because they're shoveling snow. And then between them, you see the Christmas tree go from ornaments that sort of represent each of the characters. I thought this was really good and sort of a natural fit. It's probably one of my favorite Christmas specials I've seen this year so far, just because it's one like I kept thinking about. Like it wasn't one that like after I watched it I go, oh, that was fun, but I was thinking about like how natural it was within the various characters, how natural it was for Looney Tunes. They weren't pushing this thing into a Christmas special. They kind of found a way for it to be naturally what these shorts are of the new generation, things like that. And although Sophie and I watched it together, or my daughter Sophie didn't know, we watched it together and she really liked it, and she hasn't gotten to watch a ton of Looney Tunes. It made me to rethink about Looney Tunes because this was shown on HBO Max. HBO Max has a ton of old Christmas specials, by the way. But and episodes, their Christmas special search is actually really good, but we'll get to that later maybe. But I quite enjoyed the special. I think they did a great job. I think they're doing a great job with the Looney Tunes. I think we should probably be talking about that more, that we got excellent, like, on par Looney Tune shorts. I mean, hell, they're never going to be as good as Chuck Jones. I don't think these people are even thinking they could be, but they're at least getting the spirit of it. And, you know, when I think people think of Christmas specials, they think of it being the spirit of Christmas. But these are IP that have their own rules, their own thing, you know, their own world and their own way they work. And these characters and these cartoons, you expect certain things from them. And that's what you get from it. So if you want to watch that with like some Christmas elements played in, and they're very much Christmas Looney Tunes shorts, then this is great for you. I like that they played, you know, had a little more experimental fun with Taz, with the door opening thing. That was a kind of nifty little concept. I like that you got the Roadrunner and Coyote thing. If you kind of want a good sampler of what they're doing with the new Looney Tunes, it's actually really great for that. So this might be a good entrance level thing if you've never watched the new Looney Tunes on HBO Max and you're like, you know, someone will sit down for a Christmas special, then this is a great entry point, actually. So I would recommend it for that. I had fun with it. We might watch it again, and I think it's gotten me to think about Looney Tunes again. So I think of all those things, it's really good. And I just like that it's like a Christmas special that cared more about doing right by its characters than spreading Christmas cheer, which I think is ultimately, like, writing-wise, probably what you should be doing in the first place. And what made Bugs... Hold on. I'm not good at remembering this whole stupid special name. Bugs Bunny's 24 karat. That's what made Bugs Bunny's 24 karat holiday special so much fun. Okay, so also thank you to Ryan. These both were kind of suggested by people. Ryan Walterson definitely made sure I knew about the Bugs Bunny thing, so thanks to him. And this next one was in the suggested by Jim. I think I need a little Red Bull. Sorry. It is a long day. I apologize. This next one was suggested in the Suggested by Jim Discord channel by Cornbread. Thank you very much for doing that, because it's a good pick. It is a good pick. So if you have shorts or something to do on the show, or even a movie, let me know, because this was a cool idea. So this is called Scott Pilgrim. Now I'm going to talk about this thing called Scott Pilgrim verse the animation. What was this basically? It's basically a 3-minute short as it is now. You can find it on YouTube and so forth. About 3 minutes and change. And what it originally was were bumpers that aired on Adult Swim on August 12th, 2010, around the time of the release of the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World movie. They're basically bumpers during commercial breaks on Adult Swim, but they're kind of animated in the style of Brian Lee O'Malley's Scott Pilgrim comic. And I really like the style of this. I've heard people constantly say there should be a Scott Pilgrim cartoon, and I'd heard of it, and I saw it like 10 years ago now. And I remember thinking this was really cool, and I was hoping like they would make a Scott Pilgrim cartoon. They never have, but I understand the hunger or the thirst for that after watching this. Now, this had a lot of the voices from the movie: Michael Cera, Alison Pill, Jason Schwartzman, and Mae Whitman. It also has Steve Blum as the teacher. He says like 2 lines, but he was there. But it's cool because it's like the style of the comics, very much Brian Lee O'Malley, who directed these, did a very, it feels like his comic in color and all that stuff. It also pays tribute to the movie and the cutting around style of that. It felt very stylized in the way the movie was. Even though the style is very much, within his comics thing, you think that could get bored and it's a little more simpler at the beginning. It really, like, when it has the fight scenes and more exciting stuff, it zooms in to the frames. It, like, does a lot of quick cutting and stuff like that. It gets really exciting as it goes on, and it made me really into this. Actually, I was surprised how much I was into this again, because the first couple bumpers I think would have been like, oh, okay, whatever, but as it goes on, it like gets you in more and more, actually, which I really liked about this. This was simple, but it had a really great aesthetic, actually. That aesthetic of his comic, which I think worked really well for which I think really works well for this. Obviously, that's the way his characters, are designed and stuff. But the way just like it moved in the comic and stuff, it felt like a weird mixture between those old Marvel animations, or it'd just be the actual comic with like a few mouths moving and crap. But it also, I think had a little more style than that. So it was like kind of felt old and new at the same time. It felt like an old boring comic book thing, but like edited and animated in an exciting way. It was later, and Adult Swim even released it online and so forth. So most people now have seen it in the Altogether thing. I'm curious what it was like what it Adult Swim thing it aired with, actually. The animation is directly an adaptation of the first chapter of the book 2 of Scott Pilgrim. But I don't know, it just has a real good pop of it. Stylistically, it works really well. It's a really short, kind of quick thing, but it makes you see that there's a lot more promise to the Scott Pilgrim IP, and that it would be really great as a cartoon, and it could play, as a separate thing as a movie. Well, also, I feel like a lot of the style of the movie is in here. It feels like very Edgar Wright, but it also feels very Brian Lee O'Malley. It feels more Brian Lee O'Malley than Edgar Wright versus the movie. So far, it feels like you're getting the opposite end of what the movie is creatively. But I still, like, after watching this, I was like, can we have this be a show? Like, why isn't this a show? And I think it was like a pilot. Maybe it was too expensive. Maybe they couldn't pay Michael Cera in 2010 because people still thought he was a movie star and stuff like that. But I just think this would have been such a cool cartoon had it happened. I really wish it had. Unfortunately, it didn't. And so all we got is this kind of like quick little bumper thing, this 3-minute like sort of weird pilot or whatever the fuck it was. There's no movement on what it was other than to kind of promote this movie on, promote the theatrical release of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. But I think it promoted it so well, it kind of became its own thing. And like things like this are like the fun little promotional things like this are always just exciting. Like this gets you excited for the IP, much like the video game was at the same time. But I wish they'd done more with this, because it's a real damn shame that they never did, because I feel like there's definitely a show in the way they made this. It feels like there's almost too much thought going on to it for them to just like throw it away. Unfortunately, they did, and this is all we got, and it just makes me wonder and hope for something more. But as for right now, it's just glad we got these 3 minutes and how cool they really are. All right. We're really going through this thing. All right. We might end early and have good enough time for questions. Look at that. Sorry if I cut something that you guys wanted me to talk about more. I feel like, anyway. All right. So with everything we talked about with HBO Max, this week, I felt like it was a good time to actually look at the service and do HBO Max Picks this week, because we're all talking about it. We might as well talk about the service itself. Since it's sending cinema and stuff, we might as well, talk about what's on there and how it functions. One of the things about this that I want to talk about before I talk about picks is I've used the download feature recently. Basically, the download feature works so you download an episode. You download an episode onto your device. With The Mandalorian or with Disney Plus, that usually works very well. You can download it and I can watch it on the subway, and it never really bothers me. With HBO Max, for some reason, it kept flashing like, oh, you're using cellular data right now. You're using cellular data. It's stuff like that. And it was just like annoying. It happened like almost every 5 minutes. And I was trying to watch the Fresh Prince reunion special. And I honestly gave up. And I changed the settings. I reloaded the app and it kept going. And I'm not even sure if I like downloaded something on it. Like, I don't know what was going on with that stupid thing. And the fact that like, one, I had to fix a setting that's like preset for some reason, and two, that it would be like that obnoxious about it. Like at a certain point, I didn't care if it was charging me or anything. Like HBO Max should work better than that. The other thing I will say, well, I'll get to it when I get to that recommendation, which I think is the last one. So that sort of works. All right. So first off, with HBO Max Picks, obviously I'm going to say the 24 karat Bugs Bunny Christmas special. I do recommend on there, as well as the Looney Tunes. There's a Looney Tunes section on there. Just click on the section. It'll take you right to it. I do notice that the problem with HBO Max is it mainly recommends things from HBO and general stuff on the first page. You actually have to go to the individual sections for some of these things. I think it shouldn't work like that. The main page should be more of a general across all the things, not just selling the HBO thing. I do find that sort of annoying, but that's their choice, I guess. I think it's a stupid choice. But I like those two things, as well as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion special. If you really want to see the on-Fiv part, to be honest, because the app was being annoying on my phone, I sort of turned it off after the on-Fiv thing, because it was like, I can't deal with you anymore, and I saw what I wanted, which was the original Ann-Fiv commentary. It sort of overrates Fresh Prince, even though I love Fresh Prince, but it's like, guys, just like calm down about the praise of your own damn show. But I did, it was great seeing the Ann-Fiv thing, and I hope she gets more work. She's a great actress. As well as Once Upon a Sesame Street Christmas. Once Upon a Sesame Street, I think I got that right. The newer Sesame Street Christmas special. It's really great. So when I watched it, I definitely recommend that. They also, if you type in Christmas, they have 2 Flintstone Christmas specials. They have like a Smurfs Christmas special. They have a ton of stuff. We're probably going to watch all of that soon. If you do have HBO Max, the show I absolutely recommend, and I know if I don't say this, someone will say it in the chat or the comments, but it's worth saying, is Close Enough. I feel like it's a great show. It gets better as it goes on. I feel like it was reaching its zenith towards the end of season 1. I hope it gets to season 2. It is a new show from J.G. and Quintel, who created a regular show. And I'm excited for him to hopefully make more, so please watch that. As well as, and someone, since I said this one, they're going to say the other one, is Infinity Train. There are 3 books out currently. You should watch all of those. They're really great. It's one of the best shows, not just animated shows, on TV right now. They also recently got True Grit, the Coen Brothers version. It's a great Coen Brothers movie. Some people have mixed feelings on the Coen Brothers making a movie that would do well. I kind of am fine with that. It's still an entertaining movie. Get off your high horse on that. Spawn, the Spawn movie is on HBO Max if you wanted to watch Spawn, because that Todd McFarlane one's happening any day now from Blumhouse. Wonder Woman, the original, is on there as well, if you need to watch that before the newer one. The Shop Around the Corner is one of the great Christmas classics, with Jimmy Stewart. It's a great loop. I think it's Lubitsch, I forget, but it is the original film that You've Got Mail would be based on later. So, and it's great. It's better than You've Got Mail, if you ask me. Then Casablanca is on there if you've never seen Casablanca. I've always looked at it as a good, like, kind of Christmas Eve movie. It's one of the greatest Hollywood films ever made. You don't need to at me, it's the truth. American Graffiti is the first kind of big hit George Lucas movie. It's a great kind of 50s film. As well as Jaws. Jaws is one of my favorite movies. It's on there. I shouldn't have to tell you why Jaws is great. And then we have other. I obviously go to the Turner Classic Movies section every time I do that. We have we have Cool Hand Luke, which is a great Paul Newman film. Breathless, one of the first films of the French New Wave, an actual film classic. People are saying Samurai Jack. I forgot. I did not get to check if it was on there. I kind of just like to recommend movies you haven't seen, so I don't need to. Anyway. I do need to watch Harley Quinn, right? City of God, which is one of the early 2000s best films. The Red Balloon, which is a great French short. You should see The Red Balloon. It's absolutely wonderful. I need to review that at some point soon. Reno 911, the original, not the Quibi one, the original show is on HBO Max. And finally, and this goes into my other complaint about the service, the animated Wonder Woman is actually really good. It's sort of the Wonder Woman movie that goes more into the iconography and the kind of the iconography and the kind of story of the comic, which they kind of just sort of gloss over in the live action movie. If you want one that more goes into like the lineage and all the various characters and all that stuff, it does a really good job, and I recommend that. My other thing with the DC thing is they don't have a section for just the DC animated movies, and I wish they did, because then I would actually like to go through that and catch up on those, and that's something I would download if their download worked as well on their service and use, because I do like a lot of the DC animated, direct to whatever it is now, or it used to be direct to on demand or whatever, direct to DVD movies. I like a lot of those, and I would love to catch up on those on their streaming service. So I wish they had a separate section for that, so I could just go through those. I don't know how to search. How do you do that? Just make that a section. I don't that's annoying. Everyone keeps wanting me to say Samurai Jack, so there we go. Samurai Jack's on there as well. HBO Max, I think, is also, they have the Studio Ghibli section. They have a lot of sections. I think they have some work to do on making this, what Disney Plus is. I think it needs to be more functional. It does have a lot there. It has a lot of options, and obviously it actually is a classic movie section, which Disney Plus and Netflix are not great at. They are very good at, and they deserve props for that. But there's still, the download section is something that, I will probably download all of DuckTales and watch that before I download and watch all of Harley Quinn, because I know it will function better on Disney Plus. So I'm basically picking to watch things on a different service because of its functionality. Also, I've been sitting on DuckTales too long, but that's another thing. Anyway, I hope I pick stuff that you would like to watch on HBO Max. Try to check out some of my recommendations. Some of them are some of the greatest films ever made. So, there's that. Please let me know if there's something that you would like to recommend to people, or tell me what you like to watch on HBO Max below in the comments. And thank you very much for watching. Obviously, we're still here. That was just for the thing. We do these segments. Anyway. All right. Oh, home movies. That's right. Oh, yeah. I did see Doolittle was on there. All right. So we do have 2 Patreon questions, and then we'll do the regular questions. I guess we're going to end early today, but that's fine. I feel like, we don't want to extend it unnecessarily. And I did have a stupid rant, stupid thing at the beginning. Well, it wasn't stupid. Everybody seemed to like it, right? I think people like it. I hope people liked it. Anyway. Let me drink some water. So the first question is from Sinram from Patreon. He said, and this is a long question, as Sinram does, Chris Duckman posted a new video on Thursday talking about how he retains more from a film after seeing it in a theater than he does watching one at home. Obviously, the quality of the film itself is a factor, but I have to agree with him. In a theater, I am less distracted, and the screen size and sound quality are better at keeping my attention and making a longer lasting impression than home viewing. Also, going to see a movie at a theater means traveling to the theater and the anticipation that comes... my phone. The anticipation comes with the trip. The only drawback under normal circumstances is to a viewing at a typical AMC or Cinemark is 15 to 20 minutes of trailers. That pisses me off before the movie starts. Jim, I'd like to know if you feel similar way about this, family films for your daughter aside. Yeah, I sort of do. In some ways, I it doesn't really bother me too much. I will say, viewing it in a great experience, like I said, I see the Mission Impossible films in IMAX. I do go out of my way sometimes for a certain one, but some of my biggest experiences with movies in the past decade, I still put what was the Orson Welles film, not Where the Wind Blows, that's a different movie, the Orson Welles film, not Mank, the other one that played on Netflix. That was a big experience for me. It doesn't affect me as much, because I think part of our film knowledge has been through VHS, has been through DVD, has been through streaming. And if a film is impactful, some of my favorite. I eventually saw Jaws in the theater, but I loved it before I saw it in the theater. I saw Star Wars at home. I saw all those things, so it doesn't impact me as much. I'm pretty good at tuning people out, which is a skill I've learned. Also, I live in New York, so I've had to learn that skill. So it sometimes, like, I can get in the zone and stuff like that. I used to just watch movies anywhere, especially as in college. Like, there'd be loud people around, and I could do it. I don't think I can do that anymore. Also, because I'd be ignoring my daughter, and that'd be not as cool. But it doesn't. I agree, and I also disagree, because I've had some of my more impactful moments with a movie. Like, well, actually, last year Primal was my number 2, and I didn't see that in the theater. But then when I saw Fury Road in the theater the first time, it blew me away. But then, there's certain times like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I had a good time in the theater too. There's certain ones I love that. I mentioned when I was doing my thing with Paleo, the impactful times I had at a theater, and I didn't mean that as a defense of theaters. Those are wrapped up in my memories of them. Or say with seeing, like, I saw The Master at a big premiere. I actually saw it at the premiere of The Master, and it made a big impression on me. So I think it can change a film, but I think there's certain films that hold up to it and certain films that don't. I actually remember when I saw Jurassic Park in theaters, I felt like you could never... When I saw it on VHS, actually, I felt like, oh, that film just doesn't work at home. I felt that way for years, because seeing it in the theater was so overwhelming when I was like 9. I do feel like there is a difference, but I generally feel like I can get into things either way. It's more just that, like, you can turn your phone off. You can just, like, that's what you're doing. You don't have to deal with something else. That is your main activity, just sitting there. I will miss that. I don't think it changes a movie too much for me, because to me, I think it's more the activity and experience and the relaxation of not having to deal with anything is nice. But I think, there's tons of times when I'm watching a movie and I, like, throw my phone over where there's a chair in that part of the room, and it just sits there and I don't have to deal with it. So I think maybe we should look at watching movies at home a little differently, but at the same point, I will miss the experience. And I think that experience, the one thing I will say about the theater thing, and I think the next question is about this as well, is that, look, you can buy beer at, like, a lot of different places, but, and it is always cheaper to buy beer from a store than at a bar. But bars are always open. Like, financially, bars don't make any sense. Like, I'm not, like, I really, if you think about bars, does that make any sense? It makes no sense. But, we still have bars, and they still make lots of money. So I think, there might be a way for theaters to exist because of that, but I think it's gonna be interesting to see how they figure that out, I guess. Okay, Male Tears asks, Mr. Party Monster himself, says, theaters are done, aren't they, Jim? They're going to go the way of the record stores and mom and pop game stores, right? Yeah, that's a good example, to be honest with you. That's a good example. I will say that. I think that's a good example. It feels that way. It feels like, at least the way we knew it, it is not going to be the same. Okay, what's the first question? I should really just, like, write questions after this in the chat if I was a smart person. I think the first question is Zane Powers. So let's do this. Zane Powers, since blockbusters heavily rely on China for success, and they would tailor them to line up with their standards sometimes for the worse, what will happen to that with the death of theaters? I can see, because they'll be making so much off streaming, maybe they won't do that as much. I could see that changing, but that is a little different. I could see that changing. Ace Winrider, expanding from a Flicks Friday question, if you made a workplace comedy and it was a diner called Jim's Place, who would you want to make a pointless cameo in the season finale? I would want probably someone from Mystery Science Theater, probably be Kevin Murphy, but if we wanted, like, an actual celebrity who wasn't Kevin Murphy, who maybe he could just be a cast member, because I like him, and if it's my show and I could see him every day, that would be great. But I would want a huge star who nobody remembers. So I would probably want Jack Nicholson. Let's just do that, since this is a crazy, weird thing. Austin asks, have you watched the Netflix Carmen Sandiego interactive special? Had a guest lecture by the director? Interesting. No, I haven't. I'm sort of interested in that. Maybe I'll check that out. Thank you, Austin, for letting me know. Tannerlands, Do you have a favorite concert film? Mine is Erg, A Music War. Also, we suggest animated music videos on the suggest. Can we suggest animated music videos on the suggestions for Gem section on Discord? You can. After Gorillas, I might just do animated music videos, starting like sort of with early 80s ones. So I don't know when I would get to it, but feel free to regardless. I would say do it because like I didn't when I first saw the Scott Pilgrim thing, I was like, oh, that's cool, maybe. And then like, it happened. So just I would say if you're like, I would suggest this, don't like wait around because it'll be like 2 years later and I'll forget and all that stuff. Just like suggest it and see what happens. You seriously, you never know. And I'm not trying to say that to get more suggestions. I'm a weird person in terms of making content, obviously. Evil Ira asks, have you heard the recent casting news for the Invincible animated series? It's nuts. It's got ZZ Beetz, John Hamm, Mahershala Ali, Ezra Miller, Michael Dorn, and way more big names. I have heard that. Amazon Prime really wants that show to kind of play under the Boys audience. It seems like they're going under the kind of fringe superhero thing because the Boys took off. Did they cancel the tick? I don't know, but this feels like a better fit with that. It sounds like that's what they're doing, but it does sound like crazy. They're spending a lot on that. Carter Wright, thoughts on Chuck Jones' version of Tom and Jerry? Carter Wright, you would think that would be better because they had him. I need some water. Sorry. They had him. They had him because of Roadrunner and Coyote and Roadrunner, and you think based on that, him doing Tom and Jerry would be a perfect fit. I don't like his Tom and Jerry stuff. It's really not great. It's not that there's worse Tom and Jerry stuff, but it's like it doesn't hold up to the classic Hanna-Barbera stuff. It just felt like for some reason that never really clicked. I've heard people say a couple work, but generally I just never. Just didn't gel for whatever reason. And it's sort of maybe because I think the rules of Coyote and Roadrunner and Tom and Jerry are different, and you feel like he would have gotten that, but it just doesn't feel like it's not that it's too much Coyote. It doesn't work as inventive. Also, like Tom and Jerry after a certain point, I just don't dig. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. A certain like year point, not. I still enjoy them very much actually. Zane Powers, thoughts on the fact there was an X-23 spin-off film in the works? I've heard that. I don't think that's happening. I think that was Fox taking a few meetings and, I don't see that. I especially don't see that happening now. I think it's sort of dead. Sorry. Sorry, Zane Powers. Nathaniel Fogo, what was your favorite Christmas gift you've ever gotten? When I was a kid, When I woke up on Christmas morning in my bed, my parents carried me out and changed my sheets into Batman sheets. And so when I woke up in my new Batman sheets and I flipped out because I was like Santa made my bed basically, which was cool. I'm surprised I didn't wake up. I don't think I could pull that off but that was cool. My parents did a good job. They did a good job. Thoughts on Ben Shapiro? I have no thoughts because fuck that guy. Cornbread. It's just, what the thing with Ben Shapiro, here's the thing with him. You don't want to talk about him because people go, haha, he's funny. And that's everyone's entrance way into him. The WAP thing, you know why he did that? Because he could be a meme and then you laugh at him and then you watch him ironically and then you're watching him regular. That's how these things work. He's a grifter. He's a piece of shit. He's a kid who would probably who would want to be my friend in high school and I would just like, please get away from me. He is just awful. Fuck him. Where are we? Sorry, Zane Powers. Those are my thoughts. Cornbread. If you were offered the opportunity to voice any type of character on the Animaniacs, what type of character would you want to play? Probably like I don't. Someone funny. I wouldn't mind just doing like the security guard or something regular that I didn't have much to do. Frank Clark, are you doing okay? I'm doing all right. Thank you, Frank Clark. Are you doing okay? Question: your opinion on the Barry Levinson holiday film Toys? I've never seen Toys, and I'm from Baltimore, and I heard so much about Toys because Barry Levinson is from Baltimore. It's such a big deal, so I should see it. I don't have much opinion on it. I know LL Cool J's in it. I may have watched most of it through various TV viewings, but I haven't done that. That was the thing in the 90s. I think there's certain movies I've seen all of, like in weird parts throughout like 5 years, but I wouldn't say I've sat down and watched Toys. So I remember thinking it was a little odd, but I never really got into it. So, Jordan Salafalo, favorite movie, I guess movie, not movies, direct animated by Henry Selick. I think Nightmare Before Christmas sort of just takes that automatically in my mind. You know what I mean? It's like, that's kind of an easy one with that in my mind. Favorite Alan Smithy movie, Zane Powers. Maybe Burn Hollywood Burn. I forget the other ones. It's hard to remember. Alan Smithy's been really busy. Nathaniel Fogo, best Kevin James films. Oh, that is of course Paul Blart. I'm actually sort of serious about that. Sorry. Zane Powers. What piece of lost media should remain lost? Maybe the Jesus porno, which I did a lost film file about, although I'm a little curious. Probably that. Why is Star Wars playing in the other room? Where that news anchor shoots herself. I think that should probably be lost. I don't think that's. I know people talk about it, and there's a movie about it. I just don't think that should be. That's just an awful thing. We don't really need to see that. That should remain lost. Bloxy Oxenwinkle. How's it going, Bloxy? In honor of Darth Vader, what do you recommend for bodybuilding? A 3-day split or a 5-day split? I don't know what that means. So 3-day maybe? I don't know. Don't listen to me for stuff like that. Question. Thoughts on the MST3K Final Sacrifice episode? It's one of the best. It's one of the best of the sci-fi run, certainly. I love that episode. Everyone loves that episode. I think that's in the pantheon of great MST3K episodes. Not plausible. When a TV show comes out on a streaming service, do you binge it all at once, or do you pace yourself one episode? In other words, one episode a day. So I'm not a big binger. I don't like binging. Sometimes I can do a movie marathon sort of thing, but I really don't. I'll watch one or two, and usually I like work on stuff, or like even when I watch movies, I don't like to watch the same kind of movie in a row. I just like variety. So I'm more of a one, sometimes two a night, but that's very rare. I think I missed some. I'm sorry. Embla T says, you think James Cameron will save cinema, or was he responsible by killing it by inventing hype culture, which imploded Hollywood into this mess? I don't think James Cameron's fault for hype culture. I think, to be honest, most people like seeing Avatar on the big screen. More people saw it on the big screen than saw it at home. So I think he's very much selling the theater. In my mind, I don't think it's his fault, really. I think it just sort of blew up. You know, you could probably blame Marvel more than you could blame him. Thoughts on Duck Dynasty from Zane Powers? Never saw it, so I have no clue. Black Saxon Winkle, is 10 Ton Chum the best parody show of all time? That wasn't even a parody. That might be true. I've liked that people were mentioning 10 Ton Chum. Clearly, I'm like, oh, so you watched it. 10 Ton Chum was crazy. Jordan Slothlow, do you think Katie Holmes farting made Jack and Jill better or worse? Did Dunk and Chino save Jack and Jill from becoming a failure? Yes and yes. Thoughts on Blood of Zeus getting renewed for 2 seasons? Congrats to it. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. Well, that's great. Mandela Butterfly, you used to watch movies then just party in college. you used to watch movies then just party. Yeah, I guess I sort of watch more movies than party. I'd say that. Let's say it that way. Embla T, you think Pauline Kael was right about Orson Welles and Citizen Kane? I need to read that essay. I'm not exactly sure which point you're talking about, so I don't want to step in it. But in terms of that it wasn't just him, in terms of making Citizen Kane, I think he was. And I think the fact that we have a film just about the screenwriter of it kind of shows that. Also, the fact that Orson Welles shared a end card credit with his cinematographer, I think shows that as well. What's Opera Doc? I don't know. What is it? From Zane Powers, Carter Wright. Would you like to see a Tailspin reboot? Yes, I would. And they could market it better this time, maybe. Cornbread, do you agree with the opinion shared by several competitive rock, paper, scissors players in the mindset that those who choose to go first are more likely to lose? I would agree with that. Nathaniel Fogo, do you remember your first experience in a theater? To my understanding, it was a Yogi Bear movie. I sort of remember. No, it was Follow That Bird. It was Follow That Bird. Follow That Bird was the first movie I saw in the theaters. I did a review of it with Sophie, actually, a little bit ago. I sort of remember, I remember Big Bird being blue. I remember it was a big deal. I remember I got a little seat to sit up because you didn't have theater seating. Now you don't really even need it. But at the time, they had those little bucket seat things. Anyway, Nathaniel Folk is getting me nostalgic. Not plausible. Is Animaniacs going to be the Dunkachino of reboots or the Paul Blart of reboots? And why is everyone calling it a reboot when it's clearly a continuation? I think people just naturally say reboots. I guess it's more of the Dunkachino. Does that make sense? I don't know. Sleepy Time 4Cat production. What's the strangest experience you've had at a theater? I'd say the amount of times I've seen movies where no one was there doesn't speak much for the theater experience there. Oh man, I don't think it's getting a little late, and I'm getting a little tired. So let's just do a few more. Are You the Last Cowboy? No. Favorite movie of 2020? I have no clue right now. Sorry, Dexter and Herder. I'll figure that out when I have to do a top 20 list. Do you think the movie theater? What are you doing? Oh man, now I'm lost. Oh, here we go. Do you think the movie theater experience will survive outside of the U.S.? I think that's actually possible. Who from Paige Howard? Thank you for asking. Why is Jack Black so cool, and why is he a better actor than Chris Pratt? I think that's true. Chris Pratt sort of sucks. Black Saxon Winkle, did you see or read The Strain by Guillermo del Toro? It's basically modern day vampires. I did not. I heard a lot about it. Who would you want to live on? Who would you want to live on the satellite of love? Probably Emily right now. Let's do one more for someone who didn't. Do we have someone who didn't? Damn, Jim. Really going off tonight. Was I? Favorite Robert Altman movie from Austin? Probably Nashville. I think that's an easy one. I should review more Robert Altman. I don't think I have done any Robert Altman. And is that it? I think so. How much do you know about Monkey Bone? Not much, Nathaniel Foga. And okay, here we go. Curl Tender. What if Doug Walker approached you to join his rebuild of Channel Awesome? I would go to that meeting, but I would say no. Yes, I think that's what would happen. Anyway, thank you all very much for tonight. Thank you. Sorry that there was so much about, the end of the theatrical experience. I think next week will be more of a normal show, as normal as it can be. But yeah, let's end a few minutes early and all that good stuff. Thank you all for being here. I hope you all have a very good night. And yeah, join the Discord, all that cool stuff. There'll be Tree Venge video out tomorrow. All that stuff. Enjoy the stuff that's come out this week. It helped Saber with the worst animated movies. That's what came out. I forget now. Go to Paleo's channel, check out the podcast the stream I did with him, the Gorillas review, the Waking Sleeping Beauty review, if you want to see what it used to be like when I made videos the old way, and obviously the best Quibi shows never made, which I'm sort of proud of that. I think that's everything, right? Whatever. Oh, and vote in the movie review vote. Anyway, you guys all have a good night. I will see you all next Saturday. Thank you very much for the super chats, and that's it. And subscribe if you would like to. Good night.